Michael Wilbon, pardon the interruption. Few more minutes left with him. Okay, a couple Chicago questions, Michael. First one, football. All right, here we go. Lions lose to the Rams at home. The Packers lose to the Cardinals at home, and Mike McCarthy fired. The Vikings, with their $84 million man, go into New England, and they were in the game, but they couldn't pull it off. And the Bears, with their backup quarterback, come back from 10 down there and almost pulled it off. And so far in front of this division, how does it feel to not only be set up in the short term, but what the way this team looks like it's built long term atop that division as a Bears person,
Rich,
Michael?
It came out of nowhere, and you know, for a while, I mean, I was certainly critical of the relatively new GM Ryan Pace. I guess it's like 4 years now, because there were draft picks like taking the kid from the wide receiver from West Virginia, who can't even get on the field, just been a bust. And they traded a lot to get Trubisky when he was really unknown. But he has proven to be right, Ryan Pace, and critics like me have proven to be wrong so far. But you know what, Rich? The Bears gave away a game yesterday. I mean, for people who just sort of paying attention to that game late when they come back, they shouldn't have been behind like that. And you know what? I don't want to be critical of a backup quarterback who wins in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, which is what Chase Daniel did a week ago. But, you know, he came out in his Jay Cutler costume and threw a pick six to start the game. And they were just behind. And you mentioned those other teams losing. The Bears were the team yesterday that stood to just really put it on lock. You know, if they had won that game, I'm not talking about coming back to win it. They were leading 14-7, and they were in control of the game and made some mistakes. And one of them belongs to the head coach for calling the timeout and allowing the Giants to develop some momentum out of nowhere at halftime, which he took responsibility for that yesterday postgame, and I was glad to see that. But, you know, look, they are so much better than we thought. And the trade for Khalil Mack, going back to crediting Ryan Pace, the trade for Mack, you talk about people making their teammates better. There's tangible evidence of that. You look at the way they played with him in the first few games. He was hurt and missed too. And then they played that way without him. They were like just infused with the spirit of Mack. And it can't be exaggerated what he's meant to that team. And I'm not saying Aaron Donald is not as valuable defensively. There are other players who are. But what the Bears have done with Mack since that trade has been great. But I don't want to go crazy on this. You know, any given Sunday. So the next 2 weeks, the Bears need to win one of these next two games because they've got the Rams at home on Sunday night in a game that's been flexed to prime time. They've got Green Bay at home the next week. They need to win one of those two. Because their last game, Rich, if they have to have it, if they have to go into the season finale to win, is at Minnesota. That's not a preferable circumstance. So the other game that I hadn't mentioned is at San Francisco. So they got time. They need to win this before they have to go to Minnesota and win it. You don't want to have to do that. So, but the Bears have been, you know, perhaps the surprise of the season in many ways. And I'm thrilled. But I don't want to start counting chickens just yet. That game yesterday, which everybody says, oh, it was a thrilling comeback. It was also a missed opportunity. They gave away a game in Miami. They gave away a 20-0 lead to the Packers week 1. They got to stop that if they're going to cash in on this ultimately, short-term or long.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.